Welcome to Norfolk Perspective City Slice. I'm Bob Batcher. I got two very special people on the sofa. Dr. Samuel T. King, Superintendent of Norfolk Public Schools. How you doing?
I am just fine, thank you.
It's been how many months now?
12.
All right.
12,
It's coming,
yes.
yeah. And welcome to the sofa on Norfolk Perspectives, and welcome to Norfolk. And Elizabeth Mather, we get a chance to talk periodically. Communications Director for Norfolk Public Schools. How you doing?
Right, I'm wonderful. Always great to see you.
Okay, now you're ramping up as the Communications Director for the first day of school as we tape this, but also as the mother of four.
Yes.
Any
4
advice?
boys. Oh my goodness, set the alarm clocks now.
So program
Get them
them?
ready, that's right, and start getting them to bed on time.
That's good motherly advice, isn't
It
it?
is, absolutely.
Okay, if I were to ask
Absolutely.
the same thing of the superintendent of schools, what's the advice for that first couple of days of school?
Well, along the same line, we want to make sure that they are prepared to be alert once they enter. So a great nutritious breakfast to get started and continue the regimen that you have implemented in the past, which would also center on having children read to each day. Along that line. And so consistency really makes a difference and in terms of an adjustment for the child. And so if you can stay pretty consistent along pretty high expectations, then nothing changes. So
I was, in kind of thinking about the conversation I wanted to have with you, I couldn't help but go back to myself going back as a student. There was too many painful experiences. So I'll go back as a parent of two students. And I got to tell you, I am still in awe of what teachers do in the classroom, because to me, that education model is magic. So how do you do it every day?
Well, when you think of the whole notion of teaching,
Mm-hmm.
and we refer to it as teaching and learning, I truly believe that it has to be considered a calling. When you enter this business, you enter it to, for lack of a better way to say it, save lives.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what we're about. And education is what I also refer to as the great equalizer. That is the one indicator, the one variable that still determines your livelihood. It determines your challenges or the lack thereof. And so when you consider the importance of a teacher, teachers are of paramount importance. And as a superintendent, I think my team has heard me say that there are two extremely important positions in the organization. And that's not to say that the others are not important. However, that classroom teacher and the building level principals, they are of utmost importance. And all of the remainder of our staff, we exist to support that work. And because that work is really up close and personal to the child and educating that child. So,
if somebody were to ask me quickly to kind of remember somebody from my history, I would have to say that there were Mrs. Fleener, or Miss Fleener, I think it was, who is the first name that comes to mind, and that was my first grade teacher.
Sure.
And that was a long time ago.
yes.
So they really do make a difference. Okay, let's cut right to the chase. The other day, you met with council,
Mm-hmm.
you and the school board,
Yes.
and I want to encourage the viewer to go online, look it up, because it was an awesome exchange of passion and a lot of information. So today I kind of want to talk a little bit about that passion,
Sure.
because we're all reading about reality in newspapers, and if I were to read about it in the newspaper, I'd say it was SOLs, it's all about testing, it's all about scores. But I hear an awful lot of talk about the kids, and that's really what it's about, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And as I consider this most recent exchange between the board and council, along with, of course, our mayor and vice mayor. I consider it a best practice. I was a part of an interview here recently, and that was my phrase in terms of what we experienced in that meeting, because we are truly making incremental steps toward becoming partners in this business. As far as the school system itself, we are certainly responsible for the education of approximately 34,000 students. That is our task. That's our responsibility, and certainly should be held accountable for that. However, we are in the business of urban education. And again, in my view, that has a definition across adjusting and modifying demographics to fluctuating socioeconomic variables, to growth and change, all of those things that come into to play. And when you speak of socioeconomic variables, of course, you speak of the variance from an affluent standpoint to a level of poverty. And so when you have such variables, in order to do this work of educating children at the highest level possible and to create a world-class organization, you must reach out as a school system and partner. And I feel that the exchange with council was a prime example of that dialogue being before us. And I remember some essential questions that were asked around what can we do to support your work. That's a key question. What can we do to support your work? And the responses also centered around the notion that we have to have investment from other entities in the community. The whole social services piece is vital for our families and our children, as well as the early learning piece, which I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to talk more about, around which I'm very passionate, because in my view, high quality early learning is the real answer to not just closing achievement gaps, but seeing them eliminated.
So that that nighttime reading to the girls that my wife made me do every night wasn't just to put them to sleep.
Absolutely not.
It was to really introduce them to reading, right?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's important, and you remind me of some things that we always talk about across our teams as well, because when you look at the readiness level of students as they enter, if we consider kindergarten, you can very easily determine that there will exist some variance between the child who has heard X number of vocabulary words in their household compared to a child who's internalized 50% or half of that number. Thus, the gaps are there once they enter. And so some of our students come to us ready to excel, ready to enjoy and benefit from enrichment. However, we have others that did not have that luxury. The print-rich environment was lacking. And when that happens, immediate gap as the child enters the door. And so that's no excuse for lack of education on our part in terms of what we know we should do. However, it is indicative of planning that is necessary to begin to address the needs of that particular child compared to the approach that you will utilize for the other student. High expectations for all, but the way you go about the work, the strategies that you must roll out to close that gap, totally different. That's a different language. Speaking a totally different language for educators. Paradigm shift in thinking.
Because like I said at the beginning, I mean, I am still kind of awestruck in how it all works. I mean, you know, it's day after Labor Day to sometime in June, depending on how many snow days. They're yours, right?
That's right.
I mean, isn't that kind of the traditional? But we can't stay there, can we? And really grow as a society.
In our view, we cannot. We have entered into extensive conversation around that. We know our children need more time. We do also feel that if children are given the adequate amount of time, the adequate resources, and the adequate support, pacing, all of those things, then any child will excel. However, that speaks to customizing your approach, and you will hear us talk about that a lot in terms of our need to train our staff better to customize the approach for the individual student. and that's a challenge. That's a challenge, and it's something that is a common thread around what we know we must do to begin to move the needle towards being world class. Those things are very important for our work now.
Things are different than when we went through school, right?
Yes.
I think I probably went through school a couple of years. I know of many years before Elizabeth did. A couple of years before you did. Accepting the fact they're different, but how do we adjust to that difference?
Well, the adjustment, and I referenced it earlier as a paradigm shift in thinking as educators. We must make that shift in a way that we know we have to make decisions based on the child first. I remember years ago the whole notion of leading and guiding a school system and being the building level leader in a particular school centered on management. I can't utilize management. I can't use managers in the school building any longer. You must be instructional leaders. And so the whole notion of training and readiness, professional learning, those are the items, the variables that come into play that must be utilized to appropriately and properly train our people, not just classroom teachers, to make them even more effective. We want more than just a highly qualified teacher in the classroom. We want a highly effective teacher along with the highly qualified piece. Same thing, the same items relate to leadership as well as central office. So that paradigm shift around being instructional leaders and being data driven in reference to customizing needs of students, those are things that are different now. This language is different. The language around how you do the work of schooling is not what it was.
So it's more than just Mimeo machines going out of the building. Huh?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
what would you say is the, and I've got your strategic plan here, and you've done an excellent job of,
Yes.
and I would again encourage the viewer to go to our website and look at the presentation because it was superb. But what would you say is the big deliverable when you go home and put your head on the pillow? What is what you want to deliver with the Norfolk Public Schools? Is it the strategic plan, or is it the SOL scores, or is it deeper than that?
I would say that it is that we know we must seek to become successful with 100% of our students, in that we are making them college and or career ready. So let's talk about that just briefly. That means certainly we want our students to be ready to enter college. But we also know that 100% of our students, not the total population, they won't all choose college. Some will choose vocational, technical school. Some will choose military. Some also will choose the world of work. So when we talk about college and career readiness, that's our thing. When we speak of college and career readiness, and you consider the emphasis on the student that goes directly into the world of work, then we want that student ultimately to enter the world of work with an area of specialty and or an industry level certification. And so when we are successful with doing that with our students, you change the entire fabric of society. There's a huge difference in the child that waits after high school in terms of prior to entering college, but enters the world of work, but has that area of specialty. They're automatically employable. They have those soft skills that many of our corporate entities now say go lacking in terms of what they need. And so that's a key piece. But the whole college and career readiness piece is just a common thread that runs through our 5-year strategic plan, and I'm proud of that.
Super. And that journey is going to begin at birth and in those bedtime stories that my wife made me read.
Early learning.
There is a lot that we need to talk about, and I want to
Sure.
open up the sofa to you anytime. And I
Sure.
know that you're out in the community talking to the community, and feel
Yes.
free to use the sofa to talk to the community too. Thank you for this
Sure.
first
Sure,
venture
Sure.
into Norfolk Perspectives. And thanks,
Our
Elizabeth,
pleasure.
for joining us too. We want to hear from you, so let us know what you want to see right here on TV 48. Thanks for joining us.